Good morning, 819S. It's a nice one today. I think it's 6-7 degrees right now, low of 3, high of 16, so it's a slightly warmer one, which is good news. And today I want to talk about some common mistakes people make when riding in the snow. The forecast calls for freezing rain on Sunday, maybe snow and rain mix. So, it's important to ride safely if you're going to ride. I have to ride every day because this is my only means of transportation. I suppose I could take the bus, but the timing of the bus in my town is very inconvenient, so it's still always better for me to ride if I can. So one of the first big cautions or mistakes is, can you touch the ground? So a lot of shorter riders have trouble putting their feet on the ground firmly when they're riding. I think that's a dangerous thing to do if it's going to snow or you're going to be riding in slippery conditions. In some cases, you may need to put your feet down to rebalance or stabilize the bike. That's been my experience riding in slippery conditions. And if you can't touch the ground, you're going to have to lean way over, which means you're going to end up slipping even more. If you can't touch the ground, I would caution against riding a motorcycle in the snow. That leads to the next mistake that I see, and that is people wearing shoes that don't have any ankle support, or shoes that are kind of just like sneakers or stuff like that. I think in the case where the bike starts to slip, you may need to put your foot down to rebalance or stabilize, and in that case you need to have good ankle support on the shoes, especially if you're riding a bigger or heavier bike. It's going to take a little bit more force to keep the bike stabilized than if your ankles are weak or you don't have good ankle support. You could end up injuring yourself, spraining an ankle. And hopefully not, but in the worst case, if you do have to crash or if the bike does fall, again, you want good ankle support so that you don't injure yourself when the bike falls. Next is about speed. So if the road looks wet, it could be frozen. It's sometimes hard to judge whether you're riding over water or whether you're riding over ice. So I think it's important to maintain speeds that are appropriate for the situation. If you can, follow the speed limit. I say if you can, obviously everyone can, but I think typically it's safer to ride with the flow of traffic. So on this road, the speed limit's 40, but a Ginski is limited to 30. And if you're going 40, or you're even matching what cars are doing, which would be 45 or 50, which I don't recommend actually. If you're going 40 though, you might want to slow down on a snowy day or a frozen day, because you never know. You could end up hitting something that's frozen instead of just wet. And then that leads to another thing, which is manhole covers and lines on the road. So these manhole covers are definitely like ice. Even in just wet situations, they can be really, really slippery. So if you can, avoid hitting them, but if you can't, make sure the bike is vertical. Make sure you're not leaning over at any angle. And that leads to the next one. I think keep your bike as upright as possible. I know how fun it is to ride a motorcycle and lean into the curves and really lean into the corners, but I think if the conditions are potentially slippery or icy or snowy, the lean is what's going to end up making you slip or crash. So if you can keep the bike upright, if you can keep it vertical, you will definitely end up safer around any curve or turn that you make. And that again goes to controlling speed. If you're going a little bit slower, there's no real need to lean over into the turns. If you're going fast, you're going to end up leaning into that turn and taking a really tight angle. And the last thing is something that I've talked about before, and that's keeping warm. So the most important one is making sure you have all the right warm gear. Use a Cairo hand warmer if you have one. They're pretty affordable. They're usually between 20 and 70 yen at a convenience store. But if you buy them in packs of 10, you can usually get them for like 20, 30 yen each, which is a great price. And make sure you have the right gloves. Gloves in a snowy situation need thermal protection, so you need to make sure your hands don't freeze. And you also need some potential impact or abrasion protection. Again, hopefully you don't crash if you follow the other rules safely. You probably don't need to worry about it as much, but if you do end up sliding, you need something that's got enough padding and enough protection that it's not going to cut your hands up. And I think that also goes back to what I said about speed. Lower speed typically will mean that you don't slide as much. It'll just be a little bit of an impact more than it will be abrading. I think if you have the choice, My personal opinion is don't ride in the snow unless you absolutely feel comfortable with it or you have absolutely no other choice. But I think riding in the snow is possible safely as long as you pay attention. Oh, there is one bonus one, and that is to read the traffic around you. Pay a little bit more attention than you normally would. Are people going faster? Are people going slower? Is there a side street you can take instead of the main road? I think some drivers feel very confident driving in the snow in their car, and because they have four wheels and they have potentially better control over their vehicle, they may end up taking the roads at normal speed limits, whereas a bike may need to slow down. So if you can take some back streets or local roads, that might be better than taking a main road like the one I'm on now. Therefore, you don't have to worry about somebody crashing into you or you crashing into somebody else. So readjust your route if necessary, which is connected to time. Definitely, absolutely be patient. There's no need to rush. There's no need to ride as fast as you can. Try to wake up a little earlier and leave your house 10, 15, 20 minutes earlier than you normally would. That'll go a long way to make sure you're safe on your ride. Alright, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Get out there and ride, and if it's snowing, definitely ride safer than usual, but always ride safe.